Audience specificity. So basically this is where when you talk about an audience, you be as specific as you possibly can be. And to do so, you use the context or the background information provided, and any context you can pick up from within the article to really make your piece be really as precise as possible. So the important part of audience specificity is that it forces you to be specific, like I just said, but also to make it real. So you might think language analysis is an academic exercise that you do like twice a year in high school for no reason, but it's also something you do in the real world. So making it as real as possible and referring to key audience groups that you think are being targeted by the piece will help you to make it more realistic and more authentic. So for this is basically 3 different levels. The first is level 0, which is the same throughout, where you just say technique and you give a basic explanation. Level 2 is sort of an intermediate stage where you're talking about it in a little bit more specifics, but you're not being specific about an audience group. And then the third phase is where you're being super specific about your audience group, and you'll see how that affects the overall response you make. So the intermediate reads as, this rhetorical question asks the audience to consider their shopping choices and the effect of their spending. So all that is added is the audience. It's actually referred to the audience, which is a step up. If you could make it more specific, of course, that'd be better, but you can see also the analysis of the technique is more specific here. Level 2, which is the advanced level, says this rhetorical question asks young mothers from the outer suburbs of Melbourne to consider their shopping choices and the effects of their spending. So you can see this is really quite a long phrase. Obviously you wouldn't be this detailed throughout the entire piece, but the first time you would say it, you would use the full phrase of young mothers from the outer suburbs of Melbourne. And then later on you might just say young mothers or working mothers or suburban mothers or some similar pronoun that refers back to that. So in regards to audience specificity, you want to be thinking about the age, the gender, the stakeholder grouping. So stakeholders are basically anyone who cares about an argument. And so you're talking about the different groups and which one your audience likely represents. You want to talk about their viewpoint on the world generally, but also their viewpoint on the issue specifically, their political background or their voting habits, and also their economic strata. So are they rich, poor? And then you jumble all these together and it gives you a pretty clear idea. So you jumble all these factors together and you use them to draw as specific as possible a profile as you can from the audience being targeted by your piece. So I hope this is giving you a bit of an overview of the 3 different levels. One of them is one you want to avoid as much as possible. The second one is acceptable. And level 2, or the advanced level, is what you really want to be aiming for throughout your piece.